preview. Welcome to this review Voxcast of the all-new Psychic Awakening.
The Ritual of the Damned.
Yes. Medallions everywhere.
No battalions. There's not even a game here. There's no battalions, no medallions. There's damned rituals.
So, what we've got here is a review of this new Psychic Awakening supplement, very kindly sent to us by Games Workshop, so thank you Games Workshop. We will be covering this fairly thoroughly, but we won't go into every single stratagem because you'll find that quite a lot of things have been copy and pasted, especially from the new Space Marine book in the case of Dark Angels. But what we will do is we will go through the major changes representing all three of your factions. So in this book, of course, we have Dark Angels, we have the Grey Knights, and we have the Thousand Suns. So we will attack this review in that order. Seems to make sense to me. Would you not agree, Chef?
Dark Angels, Grey Knights, Thousand Suns. Very good.
Perfect. So what we will do then, make yourselves a nice hot drink or a cold drink, whatever you prefer. Have a sit down and listen to us have a good old yarn about this supplement. We will attack the Dark Angels first. That's coming up next. Right, folks, let's get into this. The Dark Angels, kicking off with an all-new model, a model which I really like. I always like the Marines that actually hold their helmets. I think there's something really cool about it.
You are the minority then, because most people want them to have their helmets on.
Well, I think characters, you want to see the face though. But I get, like, from a military point of view, like, why have you not got your helmet on? That's kind of a bad move. But you want to see the face.
Yeah, I kind of like it in Space Marines though, them not having your face out. One, because it makes sense for them to, not, as you say, from a military standpoint, but also because it is that mysterious defender of humanity.
Yes.
Like, they're so removed from humanity, even like the layperson, like the standard citizen of the Imperium, if they're saved by a Space Marine, they're probably just like, oh yes, we were saved by the Space Marines, humanity's greatest defenders. If they're human anymore, which they kind of aren't.
And this is why you're a Necron player. You just like playing things devoid of humanity.
Soulless legions.
Okay, so what we'll do is we'll quickly go over Lazarus, and then we will of course go over your the new super doctrine, the Dark Angels, because that seems to make sense, and then we'll cover of course the stratagems, relics. And a couple of the, we don't really need to cover the data sheets because they're straight out of Space Marines, but we'll cover the major changes of Dark Angels. So, Lazarus. Talk to me about Lazarus. What do you think of him? I think he's okay. That's what I think. I think he's okay.
He's okay. He is a he's essentially a Primaris captain with a better sword and an extra little relic and a few little cool special rules. I mean, his sword is nice. +2 strength, -4 D3 damage, and against psychers you can reroll the wound and reroll the damage, which is pretty tasty.
He's a bit of a character assassin.
He's a psychic killer, which is cool. He gives you a 6-inch bubble of a 5-up shrug against mortal wounds. Mortal wounds only, but it increases to a 4+ if it's on him, which is nice.
It's nice, so the Grey Knights won't like that. Nor will the Thousand Suns.
Nor the Thousand Suns, and he also, if he dies, he can fight, but you can't do that with the banner or the stratagem. So he basically gets to do the stratagem for free in the fight phase, which is quite nice.
But his aura buff is basically the ignore mortal wounds on 5s.
Yeah, he makes everyone within 6 a Black Templar for the.
Because he's not a lieutenant, is he?
No, he's a captain. He has rights of battle.
He's got rights of battle, so he's rerolling. He's giving you an aura of reroll ones to hit.
It's hard to gauge how good he really is, though, because there's no points in here.
Yeah, that is a bit of a problem.
So I presume
the points have been omitted.
Yeah, the points will obviously be in the box with him. Because
I'm pretty sure that's
and all the stats will be as well. So if you just want to use Lazarus in your Dark Angels army without buying this book, which I would recommend highly against, because same with Blood of Baal, you kind of need this book to run Dark Angels now, because it contains so many updates, as well as your new stratagems. You've got new warlord traits in here, new relics.
Much needed updates
yes.
for Dark Angels, because I think it's fair to say, in fact, these three factions, some would say, were probably bottom of the pile.
I think Space Wolves are below even now.
And then I was about to say, just about Space Wolves. Although many would argue that Grey Knights are even worse than Space Wolves. So obviously really looking forward to a Psychic Awakening which might help the Space Wolves out.
Yes. Yeah.
Assuming that one's on its way. But yes, this is a good update. I will preface this. I say that I think that the Dark Angels have got some much more interesting plays now.
Oh yes.
Especially with some of the stratagems which are now available.
Yep.
So Lazarus, okay, I'm not blown away by him. I would be even tempted maybe to use his character, because I just love the model.
Well, this is the thing.
And use him as just a regular captain.
But this is the thing, the model itself, and this is unique. This is the first time G-Dubs have done this. They've released the model with alternative parts to build a generic version.
That's perfect.
So it's the first time they've released a special character model that can be used as a multi-part kit with others. It would be like them releasing Araman, for example, but with parts so that you don't have to have his staff or his helmet, and you can have a generic Exalted Sorcerer, which is a really good way of doing it, because the base part of the model is great. I think people have. Because I think I don't know if they have previewed the sprues of him, or just when they previewed the other alternative versions, there is a way, I believe, but obviously without us not having the model, we don't know, of having the helmet on his head.
Right.
Might need to do a little bit of conversion work,
Yeah.
which I think would look really cool. So you've got this badass standing there, he's got his winged helmet on, proper great.
What you could do, instead of holding the helmet, you could perhaps put a storm shield on there, so it just looks like he's holding a shield at his side.
Yeah, I mean, even though a Primaris captain can't use a storm shield, it would just look cool.
I would just use him as a captain.
Yeah.
The rules as a captain, but say he's Primaris because, anyway.
He's a great model. His rules are cool. He's nothing mind-blowing, but he shouldn't be, because he's not a chapter master.
Yeah.
He's not, Mephiston, all these every one of the other Primaris special characters that have come out. Yeah. He's cool, he's nice, he has his uses, he's a good all-rounder, I think.
Sure.
Again, hard to tell without points.
Yeah, don't have the points straight.
I can't imagine he's going to be much more than 110, 115.
No, he's going to be in that same sort of region, isn't he?
He's got to be, really.
Okay, so look, that's Lazarus.
Yep.
Now, we've got a whole slew of new data sheets, whatever. Now, we're not going to go over them all because they're literally copy and paste from the Space Marine Codex. There's nothing really new there. The key changes are Asmodai and the Interrogator Chaplain, because of course now they're getting litanies.
Yes, so I mean,
so that makes sense that they had to have a physical data sheet update. And that's what they've gone and done. However, correct me if I'm wrong, those litanies are a copy and paste from the Space Marine book, except one. You get one additional Dark Angel litany. So perhaps now's a good time to go over that and what our opinions are on the litany.
You've got the, as you rightly say, it's a copy and paste, your Litany of Faith, your Catechism of Fire, your Recitation of Focus. They're all copy pastes. Just on that note, all of the data sheets that are in here are just, there's like your Phobos stuff, your Invicta Warsuits, your Eliminators, the Chaplain updates to give them the proper litanies. You've got, like new reprints of the Intercessors. So it's all in here. It's all in here, alongside the weapon updates, alongside your official Bolter Discipline, official Shock Assault. You've got combat doctrines now. You are a Space Marine. And Chaos continues to cry in the corner. So interestingly, the first time that Chaos have received combat doctrines, there is your token Dark Angels joke. Your litany, right, so alongside your litanies that everyone got in Faith and Fury, the Dark Angels have a specific one which is quite nice. Friendly Dark Angels infantry unit that is within 6 of this unit and did not advance or fall back this turn is chosen to shoot with models can shoot with ranged weapons as if their unit had remained stationary. Which is quite nice, because that means you've got your Bolter Discipline, you're ignoring the heavy penalty, and it's also working nicely with Grim Resolve, giving you the reroll ones to hit.
Does that make the heavy plasma option on Hellblasters for Dark Angels any more valid?
I mean, potentially.
People still just tend to go for the rapid fire.
I would still probably go for rapid fire, just because you've got, it's just the nicer blend of stuff. You've got the more shots. The strength is kind of moot. The AP is already high. The damage you can kind of get around, especially with Dark Angels, because you've got Weapons of the Dark Age.
That's
So I still would probably go for the standard rapid fire on that. But it's a nice little buff. It's a nice little litany buff if you're running chaplains.
So other than that, we would then potentially expect to see a psychic discipline for the Dark Angels specifically. However, it doesn't appear that there is a specific.
Well, they've already got it in their book.
Yes, exactly.
So
there's nothing additional in there for them psychic wise, other than getting the Phobos powers.
Yeah, the Phobos powers and the Vanguard Warlord traits, things like that. They're all as they are. As mentioned, you do have your brain will engage today. You do have your combat doctrines. That means you have a super doctrine, which they, I believe, have already previewed. It is quite nice. Relentless Hunt. When you're in the Devastator doctrine, all of your heavy and rapid fire weapons have their range increased by 6, and all of your pistol and assault weapons increased by 3. So
it's actually really quite good.
I really like it because you're kind of, yes, you won't benefit all that much with your extra AP on the rapid fire stuff, but it's just a nice utility thing to have to give you the extra range. The assault and pistol weapons is nice. So this is in Devastator Doctrine only. It does not carry over into Tactical Doctrine. I think some people were saying that you get the it carries over into Tactical. It doesn't.
No, so
it's Devastator only, which is fine.
You're probably not that inclined to leave Devastator Doctrine too early anyway with the Dark Angels, depending, of course, on what build you're doing.
Yeah.
But especially now that you've got that Super Doctrine.
Yeah. And that ties in nicely with those Hell Blasters.
Yeah.
You stay with the rapid fire. You've now got 36-inch range on your rapid
because
fire.
The Plasma's got great AP anyway. So you're like, well...
Yeah. And same with your Raven Guard stuff. Your assault weapons increasing.
The Plasma is assault, right?
They're assault, so it'll go up to 21 inches.
Which is really decent.
And it's minus
that was
3.
one of the weaknesses, it was a slightly short range, but they were on a fast-moving platform. But having that extra 3 inches actually does make a really big difference.
Well, there's a reason why everyone uses long-range marksman competitively for Successor Marines. The 3 inches across the board is really nice. Except now on your rapid fire and your heavy weapons, it's an extra 3 inches. So it can make a difference, and it also helps you get the most out of Grim Resolve because you don't need to move.
Right.
So you can kind of your heavy weapons are kind of really independent of like your characters now. You don't need to babysit them. Obviously, this will affect your vehicles.
Yeah.
You know, heavy bolters with a 42-inch range, things like that. Like it'll be very difficult to be outranged.
Yeah. With the assault cannons.
30-inch range, you know. So there's some nice stuff. There's some nice stuff. That's it. Yeah, Grim Resolve, I believe, is still the same. Reroll ones to hit with your ranged weapons as long as you've not moved this turn, and you can never lose more than one model on a failed morale, which is fine. But the Relentless Hunt makes it a lot easier to achieve that because you don't need to move. And again, you kind of go, great, 36-inch range on my bolt rifles and my intercessors.
It's good.
Rapid firing for...
It gives you more validity to the Green Wing, which...
Yes, absolutely.
Which,
they needed.
Yeah,
they needed.
I agree.
But there are still some good stuff for the Raven Wing and Deathwing in here.
No, there are. I think it's fair to say the Raven Wing especially.
They came out.
There are some interesting Deathwing things.
Yes.
I certainly wouldn't say that a pure Deathwing army, if you like, is going to be valid competitively, but there are some interesting options now to justify some units. It would be interesting to see a pure Deathwing army run. But yeah, I mean, that's another conversation. Why don't we go over the stratagems now? Because frankly, the majority, in fact, I think you've got about 20 odd stratagems which have been added, but of those, about 16 are copy and paste from Space Marines.
They're Space Marines, so yeah, it's...
So we'll go over the ones which aren't in the Space Marine code.
Yeah, so I mean, just to give you a taste of what is copy and paste, guys, you've got things like Bolt Storm and Duty Eternal and Veteran Intercessors and
Transhuman,
Steady Advance and Transhuman Physiology and what was the other one? You know, you've got other things like give your successor a non-successor relic, have a second warlord in here. Interestingly, they do not have the make your warlord have a second trait stratagem.
No, but you can have two different dice with strategy traits, which will prove probably the go-to for Dark Angels, I think, because there are some particularly interesting warlord traits.
Yes.
But, okay, so let's go over the Dark Angel specific ones.
So the first one is high speed focus, 1 CP, Ravenwing unit from your army that's chosen for a target. That's chosen as a target with a ranged weapon. Until the start of your next movement phase, you count as jinking even if you didn't advance. Great. 4-up in barn on a Ravenwing unit. Marvellous.
Yeah. So, and if you've got that on a big block, obviously you'll get more utility. So a big unit of Black Knights is probably where you want to go with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
What else do we have here? You're a repeat Fury of the First, steady advance. Here at the chapter is it's a new one, but it's not, because I think it's actually word for word what it is in Space Marine. That's the second warlord trait. Stand firm. This is quite a nice one. 1 CP. When a Deathwing Terminator unit from your army is chosen as the target of an attack, increase the toughness characteristics of models in that unit by 1 until the end of the phase.
Yeah, it's quite nice.
Yeah.
So on your the Deathwing Knights, who I believe are already toughness 5 anyway, if I remember correctly.
Don't they have like some weird special rule that makes them toughness 5?
Well, I might be getting my additions mixed up, because it used to be that they could do like a shield block.
I think that was 7th. If everyone was in base-to-base contact, they got +1 toughness. So this is kind of like a reference there. But the difference between 4 and 5 is actually quite significant, because now your anti-tank stuff is only, you know, and your melters and your plasma, it's wounding on 3s. Your bolters are wounding on 5s, and then you've got transhuman physiology. You can whack that on another unit.
That's literally what I was about to say. Exactly. So you can help buff up a blob of Deathwing Terminators or Knights.
Well, your Deathwing Knights could get that, and then you could put transhuman on your Black Knights.
Yes.
So you've got your bikers can't be wounded on worse than a 4, and you've got your toughness 5 Terminators. You can give you some difficult choices. You then have, this is a really nice one, targeting guidance. At the start of your shooting phase, select an enemy unit within 12 inches and visible to a Ravenwing Landspeeder unit from your army. Bear in mind that can be pretty much any of your Ravenwing Landspeeders. Until the end of that phase, when resolving an attack made by a model in a friendly Dark Angels unit against that unit that you've chosen, reroll the hit roll. It's not reroll failed hits, it's reroll the hit roll, and that is army-wide for 1 CP.
It's really nice. Obviously, you have to get your land speeder within 12 inches
of
the enemy
but that's
unit,
pretty easy to do.
That's very easy, so that's very powerful for any 1 CP outlay.
It is.
Yeah.
The next one is Full Throttle, 1 CP. In the movement phase, after moving a Ravenwing unit from your army, it makes a second move. That unit can advance to the part of the move if it has not already advanced its turn, and you cannot shoot or charge this turn. So for 1 CP, it's really nice to block people in. You can use it to nab objectives, deny objectives.
Get behind a big bit of line of sight blocking terrain you otherwise wouldn't have been able to.
Yeah, exactly. There's lots you can do with it, but it might not be immediately obvious because it's not delete a unit from shooting sort of thing. The next one I love. Combined Assault, 2 CP, so it's expensive, but this is a proper old school way that the Dark Angels operate. End of your movement phase, when you set up a Deathwing unit from your army using Teleport Strike. You can set up that unit wholly within 6 inches of a friendly Ravenwing Biker unit that has not advanced this turn, and more than 6 inches from enemy units. So now you're within, you've now got to make a 6-inch charge, not a 9-inch charge.
It's a big deal.
So now, consider it. Now, you've got to use it on a Ravenwing Biker that has not advanced this turn. Okay, but I'll use that with Full Throttle.
I haven't advanced.
It's a 20-inch move. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can really, it's a good synergy one.
And there's proper, like, drop the teleport homer type stuff that they used to be able to do, which I always really, really liked about the Dark Angels. And it's how they should operate in the fluff. They operate in tandem. So yeah, I really like that one. Adaptive strategy, I believe, is the same as the Marines one.
Yes.
So it's just you can just change a unit. You can change your combat doctrine. It's only once per game, and it's 1 CP. Which I think it's 2 CP in the Marine version.
Really?
I think it might be. I think it might be. Either way, I could be wrong. It's a good stratagem to have, especially if you want to go back into your Devastator doctrine from your tactical doctrine, just to get that extra pip of range. It's a good one. Evasive Assault, use a stratagem in the fight phase when a Raven Wing biker from your army that made a charge move or was charged is chosen. 5 up in bun. So it's, first
Gives
turn
you
of
some
combat.
utility in combat,
Yeah, first turn of combat gives him a 5 up, which is nice. Outnumbered but never outmatched. 1 CP, fight phase, Deathwing unit. Add 1 to attacks against enemy units that contain 10 or more models. Great, really nice. And then Honoured by the Rock is the give a successor a
relic. Yeah, and that's it.
Some neat stratagems.
Some neat stratagems. Definitely some great utility for things like the Raven Wing. Synergies. Some interesting stuff for the Deathwing, although it's actually more one of the relics in particular for the Deathwing, which I find quite interesting to help with that resilience. But let's now go over. We don't need to cover the Vanguard Warlord traits or the Obscuration Discipline. It's straight out of the Marine book, so there's nothing there. Let's now go over the Warlord traits with that in mind. So some really powerful stuff in here. We'll do the Deathwing ones first. So why don't you kick that off?
So Deathwing own Raven Wing specific Warlord traits, which is really nice. So it's a D3 table, so you've got 3 choices here, and this is in addition to your Dark Angels ones as well. Lay Low the Mighty, it's a 6-inch aura. Deathwing units within range of that character can reroll all failed wound. No, it's not failed. It's reroll wound rolls against character units. Or units with a wounds characteristics of 8 or more. So essentially, pretty much any monster, any dreadnought, any vehicle, for the most part, barring like your really, really light vehicles like trucks or venoms, and any character is you're re-rolling wound rolls with your Deathwing units in melee.
Which is
it's
quite
tasty.
Nice. It's quite tasty. It's just you've got to get into melee. But you go, okay, fine. So what's the next one?
Next one is Inexorable. Attacks made against the Warlord, an unmodified wound roll of 1, 2, or 3 always fails. So he always has transhuman physiology, which is nice. But it's only for him.
It's very. I don't know if I would use my Warlord trait for that. I think because Deathwing is such a premium unit anyway. You spend so many points. You kind of need to buff as many units up as you can. So I think the auras for something like Deathwing, especially if you want to run pure Deathwing, is really, really important. All right, what's the third?
The third one is called Watched. This one's quite interesting. It's very niche, but when it pays off, it's really, really good. Once per battle, you can deny a psychic power anywhere on the board, and it automatically succeeds. It's really good, but because it's once per battle, it's just... I mean, if it was every turn, it would be so grim.
It would be really grim. It would be really
It would be
grim.
horrific.
It's still very powerful
because you can shut down things like... I'm going to cast Death Hex on your...
no, you're
not.
No.
I'm going to cast Doom. No, you're not.
No.
Just no.
It is really powerful. It is.
But it's so super niche.
It is super niche. It does make you wonder competitively, like if you're in a tournament setting, would it be worth taking a Deathwing character just for that and then buy the extra Warlord trait?
Maybe.
However, if you do that as a Dark Angel player, you're going to end up losing out on some of your other really, really powerful traits, which you'll discover, especially with the Raven Wing.
Raven Wing. All 3 of the Raven Wing traits are amazing.
Yes.
Would I take that in a tournament setting? You know what? I probably wouldn't. The reason being is because 2 of the top 3 meta armies at the moment, Tau and Marines, aren't using Psykers.
No.
The Eldar are, but
even then, they've got flies everywhere.
They've got flies everywhere. So competitive wise, I don't know, maybe, but it's probably not. It wouldn't be my go-to unless I was doing something. Unless the meta shifts significantly. I don't think it would be worth it. In a casual game, it can be really good. And I think there will be those times where it will be an absolutely clutch ability. But I don't think it would be a go-to. The Ravenwing Warlord traits, oh boy, you want to take 2 Ravenwing characters and you want to use Hero of the Chapter, no doubt. The first one, Impeccable Mobility. Ravenwing units within 6 of the Warlord do not suffer the penalty for moving and firing heavy weapons or for advancing and firing their assault weapons. Oh lordy.
Yeah, that's so
good. All of your land speeders, your flyers, your advancing bikes, your attack bikes.
Yeah.
It's really good.
It's really good.
It's really
really
good.
Really good trait.
You know, I mean that the threat that you can have on your Black Knights now is so
incredible
good.
range on them. Yeah,
so good.
Range, yeah.
And you can do it safely as well because you've not got that minus. Next one, tactically flexible. Once per battle at the start of the battle round, select a combat doctrine that is not currently active, and until the end of that battle round, when resolving an attack made by a model in a friendly Raven Wing unit within 6 inches of this warlord, you can treat the chosen doctrine as being active instead of the currently active doctrine. Now, this is really good for a number of reasons. One, it's you can. You don't have to. Yeah. So even if you are in the middle of a bunch of stuff that wants to be shooting bolters, you can go, well, that's fine. Now, it is Raven Wing only, but it means that all of your speeders you can put into Devastator Doctrine. Yep. And now they're going to have the extra range as well as the extra AP.
Cheeky.
Or you can go, actually, you know what? I'm in combat right now, so Combat Doctrine will be really useful. I'll just activate Combat Doctrine. And because it's in an aura of 6, it's really, really nice for... it is once per game, but remember, that's for an entire battle round. Yeah. It gives you really, really good, as it says, tactical flexibility.
Yes. However, nothing gives you better tactical flexibility than the third and final Warlord trait, which is incredible.
How did this make it to print? I don't get it. Okay. At the start of the first battle round, before the first turn begins, this Warlord and one other Raven Wing unit from your army can move up to 12 as if it were your movement phase. They cannot advance as part of this move. And the units must end those moves more than 9 inches away from any enemy models. If both players have units that can move, the player who's taking the first turn moves first. Yeah. I'll just send my 9 Black Knights up, shall I? Oh, I've got the first turn. Turn 1 charge, thank you very much.
Yeah, it's basically Forlorn Fury, which
but
is
for Raven
we
Wing
have, but for Raven Wing. It's
so good.
It's basically, if you are a Dark Angel player and you're running any Raven Wing, or especially if you're just running a pure Raven Wing army, it's actually an auto take, I'd say. It's an auto trait. I personally, I really love it because obviously we're not seeing Raven Wing too much actually at the moment, to be fair. And this now suddenly does give them a very, very powerful utility. Anything which can threaten the turn 1 charge, basically guaranteed, is going to be good.
It means that if you've got first turn with Raven Wing, you essentially have a 26-inch move. Yeah. And then you can shoot and charge. Yes. You won't need to advance. You know, your opponent...
But you could if you wanted to, because there is the strat which will allow you to charge after advancing, isn't there? Isn't there something? I think there's speed of the Raven or something.
Isn't that?
I could be wrong.
I think that's they can advance and shoot without penalties.
I thought there is one.
I don't know if they can charge.
Well. I could be wrong on that.
Not sure. But either way, it's still a minimum 26-inch move. Yeah. And then you shoot without your penalties, and then and then you charge. It's really good. And even if you're not going first, you can use that to counter deploy, hide out of line of sight, or just really put some pressure on and just go, boom, all right, 12-inch move in the center. All right, well, I'll shoot at them. Fantastic. I'll pretend that I've jinked. Yeah. I use my jinking ability. Transhuman. Yeah. I'm still probably going to get a turn. You still probably going to get that turn 1 charge with that 9-man rate. I mean, it's very expensive.
Yes, it is. But and if you don't go first, you can still use that move to as I said earlier, to get behind line of sight blocking terrain, to get you somewhere in the board which will help protect you a little bit more. Yep. But it's absolutely outstanding.
There's a whole bunch of stuff you can do, and it's just. Yeah, and against some armies that can be screened out because they have to 9 inches away and things like that. But actually, that ironically makes that a massive counter for Raven Guard armies.
Yes,
because they can't move within 9 inches of you, so you just spread out, go like lengthways.
Yeah. Sort of push them back,
and you keep them boxed in. Yeah. It's a really good trait. It's just, I personally am not a fan of those turn 1 charges because they did so much to mitigate it at the beginning of 8th. And then they've kind of...
You think it becomes too alpha striking?
Well, it's not so much that, because combat needs a boost. We are in a shooting game, but they took away deep striking in turn 1 because of alpha strike combat, and then they took away things that were infiltrating 9 inches away and moving and charging, and then they've just kind of given it all back but only to Marines.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what Bones' issue was with the drop pod.
Yes.
They've taken away the ability for every army to do this apart from Marines.
Yes. That's true, yeah.
And it's not like, you know, oh, well, you redeploy a unit of tactical Marines. It's like, no, you're redeploying a unit of Black Knights.
Yeah.
Who are already good in combat.
They're very, very powerful. And it's for the same reason that Raven Guard and Centurions become just incredible.
At least this is more fluffy than Infiltrating Centurion.
That is true, yeah.
So, you know, there is that.
Okay.
But that's really good. So you can see the Raven Wing traits are the winners there, no doubt.
Yeah, I agree completely. So now to layer on top of that, we won't go through all of the relics.
Nope.
Because you've got a couple of generic weapon ones.
Yeah.
But are there any that stand out for you relic-wise?
There are there's 3 that stand out to me.
For me, the Deathwing one, to replace the Ancients banner. Ignoring wounds in an aura on 5+.
Yeah.
That sort of gives you need that for those really expensive models.
Yes.
And then if you can make the unit toughness 5, you can transhuman.
Yeah.
That's a good utility one because you're like, right, because I've spent all these points. I really need the unit to hang around for at least 1 turn.
Yeah.
Whereas previously, like Terminators are still just really too easy to kill. That's a problem. So that I really like.
Yeah, that's a really good
that's
one.
good. So what else do you?
You've got so the other 2 that I like are the Ravenwing ones. One is for an ancient only. One is for a biker only, so it can just be given to a normal character. Their banner is 6-inch aura. Add 1 to advance and charge rolls.
Outstanding.
Just to make that 1 charge a bit easier.
It's so good, isn't it? Yeah.
And that's all friendly Ravenwing.
Yeah.
So that is on your speeders if you want to advance. That Dark Shroud's just an inch out of range, even with his advance, not anymore.
Yeah.
You want to charge in your land speeder to absorb the Overwatch. It's a little bit easier to do. All that sort of utility stuff. The other one is on a normal biker. This one is incredibly good. All enemy units within 3 inches of the model with this relic worsen their invulnerable saves by 1 to a minimum of 6. So you got that 3-up invuln? Nah, it's a 4-up now.
Yeah.
You got that 4-up invuln? Nah, it's a 5-up now. It's very powerful.
Yeah.
It is only 3 inches, but that's not necessarily a bad thing because you can kind of skirt the edge of the unit and then just shoot them and gun them down.
Yeah.
So they've got 3 really good relics there.
Yeah,
I think.
Agreed. So I mean, look, that's the relics. Special issue war gear wise, they get like a Bolt of Judgment, which is basically a damage 3. -2 bolt rounds.
Yeah.
Okay, great. You've got your normal Artificer armor in there, and your sort of copy digital weapons. I think you've got as well. Your copy and paste from Space Marines. Litanies we've already covered. There isn't really anything else that the Dark Angels have that jumped out at me.
Nope.
That pretty much concludes it. I would say that the winners clearly are Raven Wing.
Yes.
With Green Wing as well.
Yep.
Because your extra range is fantastic. Deathwing now, a little bit of extra utility. You can definitely buff them up a little bit more, and also the bonus to hit is quite nice. I don't think that we're going to see a resurgence of pure Deathwing armies anytime soon.
Sadly not, as cool as they are.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to run one like a sort of a fluffy, I mean, maybe even 1 unit could be competitive of the Knights now. Now that you can make them, you can really buff them up.
They're
nasty in combat.
A unit of Deathwing Knights.
Yeah. With the banner nearby.
Even just
ignore wounds on 5.
I was just gonna say a unit of Deathwing Knights, just even in like a Ravenwing army. Because you've got that stratagem to appear 6 inches away.
Yeah. That's kind of good. That's what I sort of think.
Really good.
So whilst you might not see a pure Deathwing army, I think
they definitely have a place.
They do have a place now, exactly. So look, overall, if you're a Dark Angel player, you've got to get the book, and you're going to have a lot of fun using and trying out some of these new synergies. I think
more so than anything, having the doctrines.
Yes,
is very vital, and having some more pertinent stratagems is very, very useful.
Yeah, I agree. So that's Dark Angels. Let's now move on to potentially one of my favourite armies ever, the Grey Knights.
I thought you were about to say Thousand Suns there.
No. It's the Hammers of Titan coming up next. Right, so how the tides have changed for the Grey Knights, and it's funny I should say that because that's exactly what they get. 4 new tides. replacing your classic, well, they're not really classic, they're very new still, combat doctrines for Space Marines.
Yeah.
So you still do have your things like Shock Assaults, your Angels of Death Rule, I believe it's called, so that's the umbrella that it's under.
Yeah.
However, what you now have are the Tides. So this only takes effect if you are in a pure Grey Knights army. Doesn't matter if you've got some servitors in there, but you have to have, every model in your army has to have the Grey Knights keyword excluding servitors, basically. So you're Super Doctrine, if you like. So you've still got Masters of the Warp, which is units of the ability gain a bonus depending on which of the Tides of the Warp is dominant. Oh no, sorry, not Masters of the Warp, Brotherhood of Psychers was what I was going to say. But Masters of the Warp is what it's called for your Super Doctrine. So kicking off, we've got Tide of Fury. Whilst this Tide is dominant, and by the way, I should caveat this by saying you pick which Tide you start with. Yeah. So it's different from the Space Marine combat doctrines in that you have to start in Devastator, and then you go to Tactical, and then you go to Assaults. So you pick which Tide you want, and that does really give you a lot of flexibility.
The flexibility is great.
Yeah, as you will see here. So with Tide of Fury, whilst the Tide is dominant, when resolving an attack made with a Nemesis weapon by an infantry model, and it is the infantry keyword, with this ability you can re-roll a wound roll of 1. So one of the reasons that's particularly relevant is obviously Grandmaster Nemesis Dread Knights are very popular.
Yeah.
They have Nemesis weapons. Yeah. They're not going to benefit from that Tide. Because they are not infantry. They are...
Funny that.
Yes. So, that just as a little caveat there. So it's sort of encouraging your mainstay units to sort of benefit from the Tide rule. Next up, you have the Tide of Convergence. Whilst this Tide is dominant, add 1 to strength and damage characteristics of psi weapons that, again, infantry models with this ability are equipped with. So your Dread Knights will not benefit from this.
Yeah.
Sadly, your Dreadnoughts won't benefit from this, and that's because there's a Grey Knight Dreadnought, for example, with the Psi Cannon, which is a shame, because actually that would have been really cool, I think. And I don't think it would have been tremendously broken to allow the vehicle units.
No, I don't think so. Especially considering that the next two do benefit the vehicles.
Yeah, so bit of a funny one, that.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm going to preface this by saying I'm really happy with what they've done with the Grey Knights in this. Like, now I'm seriously considering them as like my tournament army for this year, because I've got 4 like GTs booked up. Yeah, like seriously. They're not the most broken in the world. They're not. They're still not Space Marine level, but you've got just enough interesting synergy that you can go, you know what, I reckon I can at least give a red hot go with this army now. Whereas before it was just, all of your stratagems were just, cost usually double what they should.
Yeah.
It was quick. Yeah, it was an uphill struggle for Grey Knights, pure Grey Knights. Now with the Tides, it's really, really interesting. So shame Tide of Convergence doesn't affect the Dread Knights, or just the vehicles in general, because you'd love to start seeing the Vortimer pattern Razorbacks or Land Raiders with the Psi Cannon upgrades. I'd love to see that on the table, but right now you're not. Shame. Anyway, that's what it is. So Tide of Shadows is next.
Well, hang on. What does the Tide of Convergence do? We've just said like it doesn't.
Didn't I say
vehicles.
add 1 strength? Oh, sorry. It adds 1 to your strength and damage characteristics of psi weapons. So that's for your Gatling silencers and your psi cannons, basically. And it's also heavy psi cannons. But this is the funny thing. It mentions heavy psi cannons.
Yeah, so it gives you a little like,
but there isn't
bolt
anything,
of flame and melt of plasma type thing that they do.
But there isn't anything that can have a heavy psi cannon bar the Dread Knight.
No, there might be some stratagems that affect the psi weapons, and I think there's litanies and stuff. Yes. That's why it's there.
But the Tide doesn't.
Importantly, though, it does affect units that are affected by the psi bolt ammunition.
Oh, it stacks. Yeah, it stacks.
So now you've got that unit with strength 6, -1, damage 2.
On a Gatling silencer.
No, on your storm bolters. Psi bolt ammunition.
What?
Did you not see that?
I read. Do you know what I read it as? Because I always mixed up Psychic Onslaught.
Yeah.
Wait. So hold on. Any ranged weapons that have been affected by the psi bolt ammunition
becomes a psi weapon for that turn.
So that means that if you're in Tide of Convergence, your storm bolters will get added 1 to their strength and damage characteristics
on the unit with psi bolt. Yeah.
And psi bolt already gives you an additional strength
And AP.
And AP.
So strength 6. A strength 6 -1 damage to Stormbolter, everyone. Very nice. So now you've got a 10-man unit of Interceptors.
I do need to read that very specifically because if we're wrong, we
not
don't
wrong.
want it to be like the Dire Avengers incident from the.
Look, that was one time, all right?
Where we
It was one time.
I'm reading this now.
Read
The
it
following
verbatim.
weapons are psi weapons. Silencers, Gatling silencers, psi cannons, heavy psi cannons, twin psi cannons, and any ranged weapons that have been affected by the Psi-Bolt ammunition stratagem during the current phase. Any weapons. But the Psi-Bolt strategy, Psi-Bolt ammunition,
Stratagem, yes.
that only affects psi weapons though, doesn't it?
No, that's Psychic Onslaught. Let me get the book. Look, I'm telling you now.
So, but
Where's the
that's
Green Knight
surely
book?
a mistake.
Oh, it's over there. I can't.
That is surely a mistake.
That can't be a mistake.
That-
They need something to make it worth 2 CP.
I agree, it's not worth 2 CP currently, although it would be worth 2 CP if it does indeed synergize with Tide of
I'm going to leave the shot for a
Right,
moment.
he's leaving the shots.
and get in that codex. I'm gonna
While,
prove you wrong.
so
One me, everyone.
while this Tide is dominant, add 1 to the strength and damage characteristics of psi weapons that infantry models are equipped with. So that would effectively mean what Chef is saying is if the Psi-Bolt ammunition stratagem does affect the Stormbolters.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Cybolt ammunition.
It's right.
Use this stratagem before a Green Knight's unit shoots. The strength and armor penetration characteristics of any bolt guns, storm bolters, heavy bolters, and hurricane bolters that unit fires are improved by 1 this phase. For example, a heavy bolter goes from strength 5 AP1 to strength 6 AP2. And there's no way to get heavy bolters on your infantry, but your storm bolters.
Your basic Stormbolter with Psi-Bolt ammunition stratagem and the Tide of Convergence in effect will therefore be not strength 4, not strength 5, but strength 6 -1 damage 2.
That's nice. That's real nice.
That's really nice.
So now if you've got that on a Purgation squad, 10-man Purgation squad with 4 Psi cannons in there, so your Psi cannons they don't get affected by Psi-Bolt ammunition.
No.
But
they can have Psychic Onslaught.
I mean, if you want to spend a lot of CP...
Yeah, you could burn through a lot of CP doing
CP.
this, but we have worked out that you can have a Purgation squad with 4 Psi cannons, and you can have the Tide of Convergence on, and then you can put the Psychic Onslaught stratagem on them. So instead of strength 7 -1 4 shots,
Are they 4
what they'll be, yes, normal Psi cannons 4 shots. You can do strength 8 -2 with your Psychic Onslaught. And then you can do strength 9 -2 damage. It becomes damage 3 in the end, doesn't it? Doesn't Psychic Onslaught increase your damage by 1?
I thought it was the strength and the AP.
Oh, it's strength and the AP, isn't it?
Yeah,
so in the end, you're looking at.
But it's still
4, 8,
strength
12,
9
16,
-2.
Strength 9 -2, damage 2 shots.
It's not shabby. It's not shabby. And
It's not bad at all.
That gives you that anti-tank utility that
Yes.
they're kind of missing. Yes, it's still an expensive investment in terms of your stratagem, as well as you need to be in the convergence thing. So you kind of need to make sure that you've got your silencers and your psi cannons across the board there. Strength and AP.
So you can't get damage 3 on it, but you will have damage 2. You'll have -2 and strength 9, and you'll have a great rate of fire at
it's still good.
16 shots.
That's still
which is
nice.
really nice.
Yeah.
So Tide of Convergence, we can already see with some synergies, has got some great utility. There is a stratagem in particular as well, which will really help you with those big things if you need to take them down, which I will cover in a moment. But Tide of Convergence is very interesting. It's very, very interesting. I'm already thinking of some builds around it. That aside, next up we have the Tide of Shadows.
It's an auto do turn 1.
It really is. Unless you're facing something which perhaps doesn't have a tremendous amount of ranged weaponry, I don't know, maybe like a pure demon army or something.
World Eaters.
Yeah,
or,
you might want to start off in something like Tide of Convergence. Or the other Tide, which we'll cover in a moment. But Tide of Shadows. Whilst this Tide is dominant, a unit with this ability receives the benefit of cover on its saving throw even while it is not entirely on or within a terrain feature. So Terminator's effectively a 1+ save, and Strike Marines and all of the power armor equivalents effectively a 2+ save. That's very nice.
And here's what I don't get about the other two not affecting the vehicles. That's a 2-up save on your Dreadnoughts. That's a 1-up save on your Dread Knights. It's a 1-up save Land Raider.
Yeah.
You know, it has definite utility, and it's so you choose these at the start of the first battle round, don't you?
You do.
Yeah. So you know, like whether you have turn 1 or not, you know that you can do it. You can change them throughout the game with a psychic power, which we'll cover shortly. But I imagine 9 times out of 10 you're going to start with that power.
Yes, I completely agree. Because then, on top of that, it's got a second benefit. So the minute that you're within terrain, and it doesn't say anything about having to be 50% obscured or anything like that, there's no range requirements. So that does mean, as we pointed out in the battle report we've done, you could start a Storm Raven or a Land Raider in a terrain feature, and now you will be a -1 to hit, which in the case of a Storm Raven, you'll actually be -2.
So you have to be entirely on.
You have to be entirely on or within.
So you can't just touch it with your tip and say that you're now in terrain like they do in the normal rules.
Yes. You've got to be entirely within.
You have to be entirely within, but still, it's like, you know, for something like a Dreadnought, that's actually quite easy to do.
It's very easy. It's very easy, and the Dreadnought in a Grey Knight's army, or you know, although generally not great in 8th edition, a Dreadnought in a Grey Knight's army is actually pretty good because he can cast the power. You've got things like Astral Aim, so he doesn't need line of sight. So he is one of those little utility units which will benefit.
Definitely.
Then finally you have the Tide of Escalation. This is obviously going to get a lot of press, has got a lot of press if you like, from the various 40k media outlets. What we have, Tide of Escalation, whilst this tide is dominant, when a unit with this ability, with the Rites of Banishment ability, which is basically...
everything.
Manifests the Smite psychic power and it is not resisted, the power inflicts 1 additional mortal wound on the target. So it doesn't just become damage 2, it's specifically worded as 1 additional, so that will synergize with certain other D6 smites that Grey Knights have
Purifier, your Banner of the Refining Flame, Crow, and against demons that'll be 4.
Yeah, exactly. So
which is no joke.
That's really good. To be honest, that change alone,
it's massive.
If they made that change alone, they would already be far more interesting. It's only a single pip. It's not broken in the case of Grey Knights because you are paying, generally speaking, a premium amount of points, although the Strike Marines have gone down to really quite cheap now. 85 points for 5.
Yeah, so they're 5 points more than a normal tactical marine. And for that you become a Psyker, you get a Storm Bolter, and you get a Nemesis weapon. Okay.
And you get Deep Strike.
You get Deep Strike. It's an interesting one because I have always been highly against giving Grey Knights and Thousand Sons full smite across the board because of Brotherhood of Psykers. However, in a world of the nonsense that can be done, this is just from a competitive standpoint.
It's not that bad.
It's not that bad.
It's actually not that bad.
My problem with that comes down to the casual level, because even at a casual level, the mortal wound output can really overwhelm some people.
I agree. It
and
can
now
be
to
nasty.
essentially double the mortal wounds that you're doing every turn, you can quite easily rack up anywhere between 10 to 16 mortal wounds a turn now.
You can.
Very easy. That on a casual level is broken. Because it just bypasses everything. You've got no way to defend against it outside of denying, which no one's going to have enough denies, barring Thousand Sons, to get past it.
And they get a +1 in
with the +1.
Psychers,
I just, in a casual setting, it's very, it can be quite punishing, I think.
No, I agree. But I think at that point you've really got to ensure if you're the Grey Knight player in the casual setting, you know, rather than
you need to be able to stand up
to sort of spam as many smites as you can.
You have to
take some more fun units. But yeah, I mean, you're right. I think anything which does multiple mortal wounds and then mortal wounds in abundance,
easzy.
That's the problem. Is a frightening mechanic to balance. But we've seen with the Thousand Sons, they've made it work there because no one would. Don't think anyone's about to say that a standard army of Rubricae is broken.
No, but what is broken is the 2 Supreme Command attachments going here is 18 mortal wounds a turn, and that again is a similar thing. But because they can combine that with cheap infantry from demons or cultists, demons if you're more competitively.
That's what really makes it horrible.
That's what.
Look, I do agree with you.
It definitely gives them the offensive boost that they were sorely lacking.
I wouldn't be here even considering running them in tournaments unless.
No, agreed.
Unless I had, the remote ability to do some damage. Because the problem is that not only did the Grey Knights die quite easily, for being the elite of mankind, they just didn't kill enough either, and that now at least you can threaten most things.
Yeah, it's true.
Between the Tide of Convergence and the Tide of Escalation, although the Tide of Convergence is kind of going to be one of those tricks that I pull when I need to, when it's a very heavily armoured army or something which I need that extra damage or punch.
But then at that point, why would you not just take more mortal wounds? Because then you don't need to worry about wounding or getting an arm save.
Well, I know, I completely agree. Well, I think the list design should sort of. I'm playing with a few lists, and we are going to do a tactical with Grey Knights. Yes. But I think the list design will, competitively speaking, will needs to be balanced enough to sort of make use of what tide you need.
Yeah, of
if
course.
That makes sense. Just like any good competitive list will really need to be face all colours. But that's the tides. Obviously, a lot of talk about the tides, but
it's such a
critical change to how the army works.
It's exactly the same as when combat doctrines dropped. It's such a fundamental change to how the army operates that it will dominate the conversation. Really.
It will, yeah. And I mean, look, they're still Grey Knights as a whole is still going to struggle. Like, they don't have. With certain things, they don't have any screening per se. You are still paying overall a premium for a lot of the units. Paladins aren't necessarily cheap. Terminators aren't necessarily cheap per se. Interceptors aren't necessarily cheap. And you don't have any chaff to screen your valuable units. Like if you don't go first and you are facing Raven Guards, they're going to get the drop on you and they're going to kill a lot of your expensive units. So you need to be quite clever about what you're going to deploy and what you're not going to deploy. Because the minute you do soup anything with them, you'll lose tides. Yeah. At which point you're not taking them really. Not really. There are a few very, very clever players out there which have souped successfully. Stefan, who I played at Warhammer Worlds Heat 3, he soups with his Grey Knights quite successfully.
He came third at the recent GT.
And he came third, he's got, it's basically a small Grey Knight, yes. I think he runs a Grey Knight Outrider, he runs a Supreme Commands of Custodes Captains on bikes, and the Astra Militarum Battalion. And I did pretty well souping with Grey Knights when I mixed in the Loyal 32 and a Knight, and then I did my Interceptor span. I did okay in a meta which, I did my best with them. It was okay, and that's kind of what Stefan does. He does his absolute best with the combo he's got.
But plays free.
Yes, which is really good. It's really good. It's really good. But my goodness, do those Custodes captains do a lot of the
they help.
A lot of the brute work, along with his Dread Knights that he uses. But it's a tough one. Yeah, now I'm pretty sure. And if Stefan's watching this, hello, I'm pretty sure that he will probably consider pure.
I think pure Grey Knights is very interesting, and it would certainly, will it up? Sort of cause some massive upheaval in the meta? Probably not. Will it catch people off guard? Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. It's someone that wants to have a bit of a challenge, because there's still going to be a bit of a challenge, especially against Marines and Elder Flyer spam.
I don't know. I rate the escalation against that Centurion spam. Yes,
but again, if you don't go first, if Raven Guard get the drop on you, you've got no screening, and you're going to have to try and put your chaff units. You don't really have chaff units with Grey Knights, so either way, it's going to hurt. Yeah. And then it's a tricky one. There will have to be a lot done in the list design, but you're absolutely right. With the Tide of Escalation, Tide of Convergence, you can hurt Centurions for sure. But look, let's move on from the Tides now. We've got the Chaplain updated data sheet here, because we of course have litanies ourselves now, and actually. There's some really quite interesting things for the Chaplain. I wouldn't say at first glance when I read the Chaplain that I was like, oh, auto take. But the more I look, and then the more I look at how I might want to synergize with some of the tides, looking at these litanies, I go, you know what? It could be really, really useful. One in particular, the Invocation of Focus. Select one friendly Grey Knight unit within 6 inches of the model. When resolving an attack made by a model in that unit with a Nemesis weapon or Psi weapon, improve the AP by 1 for that attack. So we already now, and that was before I'd established that putting the Psybolt's ammo on makes it a Psy weapon.
-2. Strength 6 -2 damage.
You know, now all of a sudden that's really quite cool, right? You know, you go, oh, we want to play like that.
Everyone's like everyone's packing a miniature heavy burst cannon.
Yeah, you know, but that's the sort of killing power. Now again, it's quite a lot of synergy that needs to go off. You need the Chaplain's Litany to go off. You need to be in the right tide. You need to put the Stratagem on. You know, there's a whole bunch of things that are required for that to go off. But the fact that you even got the option to do it now is something that you just were painfully missing before. So, I mean, I'll go over the other litanies of purity because it is quite cool.
But it's unique. They're not, apart from the Litany of Hate, these are all unique to the Grey Knights, which is cool.
Which is great. So, Litany of Faith, that was number 6, the Invocation of Focus. I did quite like that one. Litany of Faith, if the Litany is inspiring, when a model in a friendly Grey Knights unit within 6 inches of this model would lose a wound as a result of a wound, roll 1d6. On a 5+, that wound is not lost. This is not cumulative with any similar rules.
Is that?
Litany of Faith.
Oh, mortal wound.
Yes, mortal wound.
I thought it was a 6-up bubble of normal wounds. I was like,
no.
Whoa.
No.
That's incredible.
No, that would have been amazing. No,
at that point, a Chaplain would be an auto take every Grey Knight.
Well, that would be basically the relic banner from the Death Ring, which I was raving about as it was anyway.
But army-wide,
No, yes.
Okay, I mean, it's still nice.
Within 6 inches of the model, would lose a wound as a result of a mortal wound, ignore it on 5s. Okay, great. You know,
it's nice.
Fine. Words of Power. If this litany is inspiring, select one friendly Grey Knights unit within 6 inches of this model. When resolving an attack made by a model in that unit with a weapon that has a random damage characteristic, you can re-roll the dice when determining the damage inflicted.
That's
so
pretty good.
That goes really well with Gatling silencers.
Yeah.
Basically.
Does that work in melee as well?
It just says when resolving an attack made by a model in that unit with a weapon that has a random damage characteristic.
That's really good for all your Nemesis stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they're all D3 or D6.
Intonement for Guidance. If this litany is inspiring, select one friendly Grey Knights unit within 6 inches of this model. When resolving an attack made with a ranged weapon by a model in that unit, ignore hit roll modifiers and ballistic skill modifiers.
Okay, that's nice.
So, you know, good if you are up against those tricksy Eldari. Refrain of Convergence. If the litany is inspiring, then when a Deny the Witch test is taken for this model, add 3 to the total. I mean, you know, good to shut down. Again, situationally very powerful, but yeah. Then finally, Recitation of Projection. If the litany is inspiring, select one friendly Grey Knights unit within 6 inches of this model. Add 6 inches to the range characteristics of bolt weapons and side weapons models in side weapons models in that unit that are equipped with it. So basically, quite good on your mid-range weapons, which are traditionally 24 inches with your Gatling silencers and your side cannons. So having a 30-inch range is really, really good. Because you're hopefully that means you don't have to move with something like a Purgation Squad. But the reality is it can still be sort of outranged. People can sort of get around it. But look, some really good litanies in there. I think Invocation of Focus is still my favourite, just because a straight up extra -1 is really decent.
Yeah, that's really strong.
But that is the litanies. That's the Chaplain. We don't have any other updated sheets in here. But we then turn the page and we have a lot of stratagems. Which is really, really good. So we've got about 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 new stratagems, which is significant. Now, some are a copy and paste, but a really, really needed copy and paste. We've got transhuman physiology now. You know, if you want to protect that Paladin bomb or a big unit of Terminators, we have some utility to do that. It's really, really useful. We've got Masters of Combat, 2 CP. When a Grey Knight Paladin unit from your army has not been chosen to fight with this phase, is chosen as the target for an attack until the end of that phase. When a model in that unit is destroyed, then before that model is removed from play, it can fight as if its unit had been chosen to fight. So you basically get to fight before you die. Yeah.
So to maximise that, you really need a Paladin unit in combat with like 4 or 5 units.
Yes.
So that you just go, okay, cool, because there's you can only select them if they've not already chosen to fight with that phase.
That's right. And it says use the stratagem in the fight phase, so you don't have to do it at the beginning of the fight phase or anything like that. You've got some flexibility.
Yeah. But what you can do with that is if you choose them to fight and then they, they're in combat with 3 or 4 units and you choose them as the target of that, you can then interrupt, attack with them, and then when they die, you attack again.
So you get the absolute most bang for your buck, if you like.
Which you need to at 50-something points a model, or whatever they are.
Expensive, yeah, they're really expensive. Next up, Vengeance of the Machine Spirit. It is 2 CP, but it's an auto explode on a Grey Knight's Land Raider or Storm Raven.
Yep,
or when you die, you can shoot a weapon.
Yeah.
So quite nice. Okay. You know, it's got some utility. I know that the Land Raider has proved a little bit popular with like whacking a unit of like purifiers or whatever in there, or paladins recently with Gate of Infinity, so you've got that as well up your sleeve if you need it. Overwhelming Assault, only 1 CP. Select 1 Nemesis Dread Knight unit from your army. Until the end of that phase, add 1 to the attacks characteristic of the unit, and when resolving an attack made by a model in that unit, you can re-roll a wound roll of 1, and you can re-roll a damage roll of 1.
Great.
So you've got kind of your tides with the Nemesis weapons come back in for 1 CP plus an additional attack. Pretty nice.
1 CP it's good on a Grandmaster.
Yeah, it is, yeah. Dynamic Insertion, 1 CP. Use this stratagem when a Grey Knight's unit from your army is set up on the battlefield using the Teleport Strike ability, and that's an important distinction on this one. You can set that unit up anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 3 inches away from any enemy models instead of 9 inches. However, no, you cannot charge.
No.
But if you want to get those incinerators in range, you're planning some sort of a cheeky incinerator bomb, or you're trying to hem a unit in, or you're trying to cause a massive problem by having a big unit of paladins in your opponent's face, you know, they can't really do anything about that, and it is only 1 CP for this benefit.
Even though they're not charging, the fact that they are... Because... Let's be fair, guys, if you want to go for that charge, you need First of the Fray nearby. Yeah. And even then, it's not a guarantee.
It's not guaranteed.
So for 1 CP to basically just go, all right, cool, well, I am 3 inches away, which is already closer than I would have been if I failed that charge and moved. You're probably not going to escape them, even though they can't charge. But then you plop them down and you go, you've got to deal with me. Yeah. Okay, I'll deal with you. Transhuman.
Yeah. Huge.
You know, so there's way. Now you can't use it to get a unit of incinerators there, like purgation incinerators, because they do not have the teleport strike ability, and the teleportarium stratagem does not give you the teleport strike ability.
So you can't do it.
It's very specific, as you say.
You can't do it for purifiers and in a brother captain to double the range if they're...
No, you could do it with a ancient with the banner of the refining flame, but that's kind of a one-trick pony.
One-trick pony. I mean, a D6 smite, and if you are in the Tides of Escalation, D6 plus 1.
Ironically, does make him a very good character killer.
Does, yeah.
Because he can just appear 3 inches away from a character. It's very similar to the G-Sealers
it's a great
popping up with bikes.
Yeah, it's a great asset to have in your toolkit. You know, even for things like if some people will try and really screen out deep striking armies, so screen out their ranged weapons. They'll have some of their powerful asset units just at the back. Now they're going to have to screen out really deep, because if I can just go 3 inches away, I should hopefully still be in range with my guns to get units behind.
Nab objectives as well that thought they were safe, and you go, not anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, it's a great utility. For 1 CP, guys, you know, you can't go wrong. Now, this is the strategy I was talking about. It is 2 CP, but Bring Down the Beast is possibly one of the most important stratagems for Grey Knights, because they've really struggled against things like Knights and any big nasty thing which isn't a demon previously. So use this stratagem in your shooting phase after shooting with a Grey Knights unit from your army. Select 1 enemy vehicle or monster unit that was chosen as a target for that unit's attack. So basically use a character and ping off a storm bolter at them.
Yeah, doesn't need to even hit or wound.
No, just needs to be the target. Until the end of that phase, when resolving an attack made by a model in a friendly Grey Knight unit against that enemy unit, you re-roll the wound roll.
Fantastic.
And there's no aura ability on that. It's nothing. It's just your army now re-rolls wounds against that target for 2 CP.
You have an ancient or a brother captain just go trace around. Boom, boom.
Yeah.
Bring it down.
Yeah, I mean,
which is awesome.
That is probably the best option for the Dread Knight's weapons that I've seen, because he will benefit from that, where he's not benefiting from any of the tides.
Yep.
But you know, being able to re-roll to wound with those guns is actually really useful.
It's useful. Yeah.
It's really useful. It does mean that you re-roll to wound is just brutal.
Yeah.
It's just really good.
And it's re-roll to wound, not re-roll failed wound. So if there is anything with like -1s to wound, which admittedly are quite rare.
Yes.
I mean, really, we're talking like the Harlequin Shadow Sit Aura, which obviously doesn't affect their vehicles, so it's kind of moot. But I can't think if there's anything else actually, but you never know what might be coming in further Psychic Awakening stuff.
That's true.
So you know, it's like with a Chapter Master reroll. It's full rerolls, which is great.
Which is awesome. Big guns never tire. 1 CP. Basically, you count as being stationary with your vehicle.
Great for the Dread Knight Grandmaster.
Yeah, ignoring your
finally.
bonuses. Yeah, exactly. Fury of the Proven. It's a Grey Knight Terminator unit from your army in any phase. Until the end of that phase, when resolving an attack made by a model in that unit, add 1 to the hit roll. Nice. Okay, that's cool. So if you do put some heavy weapons on them as well, you could effectively ignore that minus or just be hitting on 2s with everything.
Yeah, hitting on 2s with Storm
Powerful Adepts. 1 CP. Use the stratagem in your psychic phase. Select 1 Grey Knight Psychic unit from your army with the Rites of Banishment ability. Until the end of that phase, the range of the psychic powers increased by 6.
Nice. So that will be useful on things like your purifiers.
Yes.
Now, obviously, you cannot do it immediately after deep striking. You would still need a brother captain near there, but then it's all of a sudden it's going from 3, then you add 6, and then your brother captain's making it now all of a sudden that's an 18-inch range super smite.
Yep. It's decent.
Nice.
It's really decent.
You know, so there's some nice combos you can do with that, and the amount of times as well where you kind of go, I'm going to cast Sanctuary on that unit. Like not within 12.
Yeah. Just being able
it needs to go off.
Yeah.
Done, you know, it's good.
1 CP Duty Eternal. This is Grey Knight's Dreadnought model from your army. Until the end of the phase, when resolving an attack made against that model, halve the damage inflicted, rounding up. Cool. 1 CP Fight on the Move. Select 1 Grey Knight's Interceptor squads at the end of your movement phase. Until the end of that turn, that unit can be chosen to shoot with and charge with, even if it fell back this turn. Great little utility. 1 CP Empiric Surge. Use the stratagem in your psychic phase after a Grey Knight Psyker unit from your army has manifested a psychic power. Until the end of that phase, when a psychic test is taken for a friendly Grey Knight Psyker unit, within 6 inches of that unit, add 1s to total.
So good.
You know, and you're already adding 1. It's Brotherhood of Sorcerers.
So good. You're smiting on a 3.
Yeah, it's so strong. Right, Redoubtable Defense. 1 or 2 CP. Grey Knight Terminator unit. If the unit contains 5 models or fewer, it costs 1. If it's more than that, it costs 2. Until the end of that phase, when resolving an attack made with a ranged weapon against that unit, subtract 1 from the damage characteristic of that weapon for that attack to a minimum of 1.
It's great.
It's really good on things like Paladins.
Yep.
Because they're 3 wounds anyway, then reducing a damage 2 weapon or a damage 3 weapon to 2.
Even like the damage D3s when you get that off.
It's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. And then Transhuman on it, you can really buff these guys up now. 1 CP, Steady Advance. When a Grey Knight's infantry unit's in the shooting phase, you can select them. Until the end of that phase, for the purposes of the Bolter Discipline ability, they count as having remained stationary in the previous movement phase, so that's decent. 1 CP, Untainted and Unbowed. This is your Grey Knight's Purifier, automatically passing a morale check and giving them a 4+ invulnerable save.
Great.
Cheeky. And then finally, 1 CP for Preternatural Senses. Grey Knight's Purgation Squad. Until the end of that phase, when resolving an Overwatch attack, they hit on results of 4 to 6.
Nice.
Which is really, really nice.
Yeah.
So, really cool stuff in there. So a bit longer on the Grey Knights here, because actually the stratagems and the tides are all so completely different to what they've currently got. It was kind of important to cover them all. But we then have a new Psychic Discipline. And we finally, and we have more relics, which we can also both agree that the relics currently were pretty terrible.
Yeah, they're bad.
Yeah, they're not great on Grey Knights. So the Dominus Discipline's an interesting one. It's Grey Knights characters that can have this.
Yes.
You can't give any of these powers to your regular units. It has to have the character keywords. And as a result, I think that we'll definitely see even more characters than perhaps we saw before. Because really the army also beats sort of to this drum of the Dominus Discipline. The first power is arguably the most important one, Warp Shaping. This is the only way you can change a tide.
Yeah.
It is a warp charge value of 5, so you're effectively casting on a 4 or more, because you get +1 inbuilt. And if manifested, you can select a tide of the warp that is not dominance and the current dominant Tide of the Warp is changed to the selected Tide of the Warp. So that's the only way you can change it.
Yeah.
But that's a lot more flexible than something out combat
You need
doctrine.
that power.
You have to have it.
You have to have that power.
Taken multiple times for redundancy, really.
Yeah, in the preview game that we did, I ran it on an Apothecary.
Yeah.
I only had it I only had it in the. I didn't run it on the Apothecary. I ran it on the Ancient. Because I knew that the Ancient was coming down turn 1.
Yeah.
Coming down turn 2.
Yeah.
So, but you might want to have it on a unit that's on the board so that you can go, right, well, turn 1, I'm in the Tide of Shadow, I'm protecting myself. Now I'm going to change it to Escalation and punish you. Yeah. And then, so I was banking on having it. But because you can choose the tide that you're in, on turn at the beginning of the battle round, you have that flexibility. You probably would want to take it at least twice, but because your characters are limited on the powers that they have, and they can't mix and match between Sanctic and Dominus, that's why Librarian I think is quite important now, because he gets more powers. He knows more powers, and Grandmaster Voldus.
Voldus is awesome.
Well, because he knows free and can cast free, he's actually quite key, I think, for
and he's an absolute
now. And he's very good, and he's very good anyway.
So
I think
-1 on his hammer is really good.
I think he's quite key, purely because of the amount of powers that he can have. So obviously, if you go for Dominus, you've got Voldus in there. He can give you a lot of utility.
You can. I completely agree. So I'll go over the other powers briefly. Armoured Resilience is subtract 1 from the wound roll for a Grey Knight's infantry unit. You can't stack it with Transhuman, because Transhuman's very specific about an unmodified. But the fact of the matter is that's still extremely powerful.
Yeah, it's great.
And great on some sort of powerful blob.
Yep.
Ethereal Manipulation, Warp Charge, Armoured Resilience, Warp Charge 6. Ethereal Manipulation, Warp Charge 7. If manifested, 1 friendly Grey Knight unit within 6 inches of the Psyker until the start of the next psychic phase. When resolving an attack made by modelling that unit in the shooting phase against a unit that is within half range, you can re-roll the hit roll.
Yeah, it's great.
So just re-roll the hit roll.
Yeah. You have to be. It is limited on range. You've got to be within 6, and you've got to be within half range when you shoot. But it's still a great little tool to have.
It is. It's cheeky. I like it. Number 4, Edict Imperator. Warp charge value of 7. If manifested, select 1 friendly Grey Knight unit within 12 inches of the Psyker. That unit can shoot as if it were your shooting phase, and then make a move as if it were your movement phase. It cannot advance as part of this move. This unit cannot shoot again this turn or charge this turn. But that's really quite useful.
It's useful. You do that on an interceptor unit.
Yeah, it's an extra move as well.
Which is always wise. Is that infantry only?
It just says Grey Knight's unit.
Could do it on a Land Raider.
Yeah.
Could do it on a unit on something that's just wants to get its cargo up the board.
Yeah.
Lots of little cheeky tricks you can do.
There's utility there. 5, Empyrean Domination, Warp Charge 7. This is another incredible one for Grey Knights. If manifest, you just gain a command point.
Yeah.
Because you had no, up until that point, you had no way of regenerating command points, and you are very command point hungry as an army. Yeah. So that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Then number 6, Inner Fire, Warp Charge value of 5. If manifested, select 1 enemy unit within 1 inch of the Psyker and roll a number of d6 equal to the result of the psychic test. So if you roll a 5, you roll 5 dice. For each roll of 1, the Psyker suffers 1 mortal wound. Ouch. But each roll of 3 plus, the enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound.
It's just hilarious. Yeah. I love it. I love it.
So very, very cool to do in combat, some sort of big power up.
Yeah. 7 episodes later.
That's it. Then finally we have the relics, and then Grey Knights is concluded. We've got the Blade of Forsworn. It's basically a damage 3 sword, but you ignore invulnerable saves for demon units.
Yeah.
Which is really, really cool.
This is really nice. Just flat 3 damage on your sword is good. Nice. And it's +1 strength as well.
+1 strength, -3.
That alone makes it quite good for a combat sort of looking lord.
Yeah.
But I think the other relics are just better.
There are too many other good utility ones. Yeah. So you've got Sanctic Shard. When a psychic test is taken for a model with this relic, you can re-roll the result.
Yep.
Add 1 to the total for psychic tests taken for a model with this relic.
It's
so you're re-rolling and you're adding 1, plus you're adding another 1 because the Brotherhood of Sorcerers So
yeah, that's what you put on your Grandmaster, because he can cast a Smite and one other power from either the Sanctic or the Dominus. You give him Warp Shaping, so he's your Warp Shaping is going off on a free.
You need, because you need that power to go on.
Or you give him something like Gate, or you give him something like Vortex, and you go for that really powered up Vortex, or you go for there's a lot that you can do with that, because the reliability, and not only, even if it was just +1, that'd be like, that's really good, but to give you rerolls as well is so good.
Right, Orgarium Scrolls. When resolving an attack made with a Nemesis weapon by modelling a friendly Grey Knights unit within 6 inches of a model with this relic, an unmodified hit roll of 6 scores 1 additional hit.
Nice.
Cheeky. Stave of Supremacy. Basically, Nemesis warding stave model only. When a psychic test is taken for an enemy model within 18 inches of the relic, the enemy suffers perils on any roll of a double. Okay.
That's so grim. If you come up, if you use it against like an Elder army or a Thousand Suns army, you just go, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Yeah. Artisan, Nullifier, and Matrix is for librarians only, which traditionally have not been seen too often in Grey Knights. Once per turn, when a psychic test is taken for a friendly Grey Knights unit within 6 inches of a model with this relic, you can increase or decrease by 1 the value shown on one of the dice. So you can either just score a power which you might have suddenly failed, or you can prevent the perils of the war.
Yep.
So it's really quite interesting. And then finally, you've got Etheric Conduit, which is a Tech Marine model. When using a model with this relic's Blessing of the Omissary ability, the target model regains up to 2d3 lost wounds instead of d3. It should be noted that Tech Marines can repair things like Dread Knights as well, because they're vehicles. But look, that is it. That is the Grey Knights.
It's nice.
Covered them fairly thoroughly, because actually there were a lot of huge changes. I think that they're really interesting now.
Yeah.
Really looking forward to running them on the tabletop with lots of different combinations, because we're very fortunate to have a lot of stuff magnetized, so can try different things. An interesting one. I wouldn't say that they'll turn the meta upside down. I wouldn't say that they wouldn't either, but at the moment, the fact of the matter is they only become valid when they're run as pure. And I do think they're still going to have some gaping holes in their defences with no screening and so forth. So we'll see how it pans out. But if you're a Grey Knight player, you need this book. You need it you needed it years ago, but you've got it now. So next will be your potentially favourite army.
I do like them.
The Thousand Suns.
I have lots of favourite armies.
You do, to be fair. Well, let's cover them. They're coming up next. Right, so that brings us to the Sons of Prospero, and I have to admit, I actually really like the Thousand Suns as well.
Yeah.
They are definitely one of my favourite Chaos armies. I like that they're kind of like a dark mirror to the Grey Knights.
Yep.
So interesting stuff here. They have got some changes. Weirdly, it probably won't take as long as we spent on the Grey Knights, because actually the changes are very, very specific. You don't really get a super doctrine per se, but you kind of do. You've kind of got up to 9 different ones, but you can only it's a funny one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Talk us through it.
I'll preface this now, guys. Chaos fans, it's happened again.
What's happened again, Chef?
You have not got as much stuff as the Imperium version.
I think that is fair to say. You just don't.
So the Grey Knights, they got a super doctrine, and they've got all these new stratagems and all that sort of cool stuff. The Dark Angels got basically a full update. Your stuff is cool. The problem is you don't have the, if your army is Thousand Suns, you get like some really awesome, like everyone can, you can combine like the powers of the spells, like the old sort of like Apocalypse formation stuff, where you could you take, I would have loved to have seen like some horrific ritual where it's like, add 1 for every aspiring sorcerer, add D3 for every exalted sorcerer.
The conclave of
that
sorcerer,
one unit takes that many mortal wounds, and you just obliterate it. Or something like that, or something to kind of, give you something to represent the more psychic influence. As it is, you've got some cool stuff, but it's detachment based. So my concern and my issue with this is that all it does is it rewards soup again.
It does, There's no benefit to it. it's true. There's no benefits where you don't have a super doctrine if your whole army is the same.
No,
you don't.
You can have these in any detachment.
Yes.
So you can mix and match, which is kind of cool in a way for Thousand Sons, because different cults working together for some grand scheme is really nice.
Yeah.
It becomes an issue, and it's not necessarily a massive issue when you've got on a competitive level. It's just upsetting that you had that, and then you could have had something else if you were pure Thousand Sons. Reward the purity. Yeah. Reward the purity. That's all we ask for. Okay. As it is, there is some good stuff in here, so it's not all doom and gloom. Every Thousand Sons detachment has access to the same set of stratagems. Now, you only get half a page. Yeah. Well, you get 1 page as opposed to 2 pages.
To be fair, though,
but they're all really good.
And you already did have some good ones anyway.
Yes. And all of these are really good. So you've got a Warlord trait on an extra guy. So not 2 on the same, but 2 Warlord traits, which is good. A fantastic one. If Rubric Marine or Scarab Occult unit did not move, your rapid fire weapons can fire twice.
Cheeky.
Very, very nice. Yeah. So yeah, if you've got a unit in the right position, you can just... It's an absolutely horrific amount of Inferno Bolt fire. Yep. You combo that with veterans. Yeah,
and that's nasty.
That's really nasty. Yeah. You have, and that combo is really nicely with the next one, Risen Rubricae. Use the stratagem when a Rubric Marines unit from your army is set up during deployment. It can be set up anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 9 inches away from the enemy deployment zone and enemy models. You can only do this stratagem once per battle, but you do that on a phalanx of 20, and then you go, cool, turn 1, Veterans, Infernal Fusillade.
Yep.
That's a lot of shots.
That's some screen clearance.
Yes, it is. Officially, you have Hateful Assault and Malicious Volleys, Bold Discipline. Sure. So yeah, your rapid fire. So basically, everyone is equipped with an Inferno Stormbolter at that point, which is really good. Awesome. Yeah. Sorcerer's Infusion is quite cool. When a Thousand Sons model from your army, after resolving a psychic power with them, if the result of the test was 9 or higher, if the unit contains any models that have lost any wounds, it regains up to D3. Otherwise, you can return one of those models to the battlefield with all of its wounds remaining, placing it in unit coherency. So you can either, if you cast on a 9, you can heal up your character, or you can bring back a Scarab Terminator, which is quite nice. Yeah. Increase a Rubric's Marine or Scarab Occult Terminator invuln by 1 to a maximum of 3+, when they're targeted by attack, and that's until the end of the phase. Makes them really nice and beefy. Great for only 1 CP. The stratagem that should have been in the book to begin with. 1 CP if a Thousand Sons Psyker suffers perils of the warp. They do not suffer perils of the warp.
Thank goodness for that.
Because it happens.
It does, especially when you cast it all the time. Yeah, it really does.
And then the last one is 2 CP. So all the others have been 1 CP. This one's really cool. Yoked Automata. Use the stratagem at the end of your opponent's charge phase. Select an enemy unit that finished a charge move within 1 inch of any Thousand Sons character other than a Zangor. Pick a Rubric or Scarab Occult Terminator from your army that is within 12 of the enemy unit and not within 1 inch of the enemy units, of any other enemy units. They can heroically intervene 2d6 instead of 3.
Nice.
So if it's really cool, because it's kind of, you've got that sorcerer and they're like being attacked, and he just
summons
the Terminator's there. And they just that's really cool. Yeah. So all of those stratagems have some nice utility, and you get them regardless of your Thousand Son detachment, which leads me into what the detachments gain. So you have something called Cults of the Legion. You can pick one of 9 cults for your detachment of Thousand Sons to follow. You can mix and match. As I say, you do not need to have them all the same cult. No. So you do have some flexibility here, but this is my issue with it rewarding the souping rather than rewarding the pure.
Mainly because if you're seeing Thousand Sons, they're generally a detachment plugged into something else.
It's a Supreme Command detachment, or 2 Supreme Command detachments, depending on how you're feeling. Yeah. Everyone in the cult, apart from Chaos Cultists, Zangors, and your named characters, gets the cult keyword.
Cool.
So Araman and Magnus cannot ever get any of these abilities, which is fine. Because
they're really good anyway.
They're really good anyway. But every Psyker in your cult knows the psychic power.
Yeah, which is good. So nice. You get a free power across everything.
Yes. So everyone gets a free power.
For free.
That's it.
Yeah.
You don't get anything else.
No, because all it is then is an access to a Warlord trait or a relic.
Yeah, you get access to it. You don't get it. No. Now, if it was you got this relic because they and that would be really cool and fluffy for Thousand Sons. I think.
They would have more magical.
They cover all this arcane stuff. They're like. If it was, you can give you get this relic in addition to your normal relics. That would be really cool.
Well, that could be really cool.
That would be really cool. Alas, no. You get a free psychic power. Everyone has access to it. You can still only cast it once. It's not like a smite, but you do get access to some really good powers, and some of the warlord traits and relics are really powerful. So we'll go through them. We'll go through them pretty quickly. Yeah. Cult of Prophecy, Divine the Future, this is your psychic power. Warp charge 6, when you manifest it, roll a dice, and you can replace that dice for a hit roll, wound roll, advanced charge, psychic test, deny the witch, or morale test for a Cult of Prophecy unit in your army. It's pretty cool.
It is cool. It's a free reroll. Nice. A key point when you need it.
It's not quite a reroll.
No.
Because you have to roll it first and see what it is. So it's kind of like a miracle dice.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a miracle dice for more limited things. You can't use it on damage, annoyingly. No. But on a psychic test, you roll a 6 and a 2, and you rolled a 6 with your divine. Yeah. Super peril. Yeah, I'll smite, but it's a super smite. Yeah. Great. Lots of utility. Really nice.
Cool. What's the relic?
The relic is needs an FAQ immediately. It needed the FAQ before it went to print. When a unit within 6 inches of a friendly model with this relic, really it should be Cult of Prophecy.
Right.
It's friendly model. You can reroll 1 hit roll, 1 wound roll, or 1 damage roll. Okay, cool. Well, my Cult of Prophecy guy is going to sit behind my...
Chaos Knight or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it.
It's a problem. It's a problem. The Warlord trait's pretty cool. When the Warlord fires Overwatch, you can immediately move 6 inches as if it was your movement phase. You can just go, nope, no, you're not charging me. However, it's when you fire Overwatch, so it's actually useless if you don't have a shooting weapon.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So, next one is Cult of Time. This one's pretty cool. Time Flux. Warp charge 5. Select a friendly Cult of Time infantry unit within 6 inches. Just return a destroyed model back to the unit. If the unmodified result of a test was 9, return D3.
Anything which will help your resilience, because if you are running things like Rubric I, you are a bit more pricey.
Yes.
That's good.
Bringing D3 Rubric Terminators back is really good. Yeah. You do need to roll a 9, but the thing is, if you've got that, if you're Cult of Time, you've got that power and you roll a 9, and you've got you then use the stratagem, so you go, cool, I bring 1 plus D3 back.
Yeah, great.
You can bring the unit back up to full strength, it's really good.
Right.
The Warlord trait's quite nice. If you manifest a psychic power on a result of a 9+, you can attempt to manifest 1 additional psychic power this phase. Cool. It's cool. And the Arcana is really nice. Their relic, Hourglass of Manat. The first time they're destroyed, they come back to life with D3 wounds remaining automatically, as close as possible, more than 1 inch away from enemy models. Fantastic. Cool. Whack that on a Demon Prince, you're laughing.
Yeah. Yeah, because you can.
The next one, Cult of Mutation, has a phenomenal psychic power. It's Warp Charge 6. If manifested, select a terrain feature within 18 inches of the Psyker and then 1 enemy unit within 3 inches of that terrain feature. Until the start of your next psychic phase, that enemy unit's move characteristic is halved and you subtract 1 from advance and charge rolls.
Hugely powerful.
It's really good.
Yeah, you can shut down some key enemy units with that.
You shut down Gene Sealers with that. You can shut down Centurions,
Death Company.
Enjoy your 2-inch move, Centurions, like things like that. So it's a really, really powerful ability. Warlord trait is unmodified hit rolls of 6 to a mortal wound in addition. It's okay. And their relic is a sorcerer model only, so you can't put it on a Demon Prince, but it does give them +1 strength, toughness, and attack, which is nice. Okay. So Cult of Mutation is pretty cool. You're taking it for the power.
For the power, yeah.
100%. The Cult of Scheming.
Scheming!
Scheming! This one's quite powerful. This one, I think, is a really good overall general one. The power is Warp Charge 6. A friendly Cult of Scheming unit within 24 can shoot and charge even if they fell back. Fantastic. Yeah. Really, really good. Their Warlord trait, every Cult of Scheming unit within 3 gains Disciples as each, so objective secured basically. If you already have it, you count as 2 models for the purposes of determining. Now remember everyone, that the cult keywords do not apply to cultists or Zangors. No. So you cannot have a 30-man blob of Zangors with a Warlord nearby being worth 60 models.
No.
You can't. No. But your rubrics now all of a sudden being 20 models is quite nice. Yeah. And the relic is really good. Once per battle, you can use this In any phase, whilst the bearer of the relic is on the battlefield, select a stratagem. That stratagem becomes 0 command points.
That's really cool.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
That's really nice. So it's until the end of the phase or until the stratagem is used by the model with this relic's controlling player, whichever comes first. So if you forget to use that stratagem, tough. But you use that for like a really expensive one, or you've got it's essentially a free, anywhere between 1 to 3 command points, which is nice. Yeah. It is good. The Cult of Magic is your blasty one. In fact, Beard used all of this in the game, so go and watch the game. Yeah. We discuss it at length in there. Yeah. But essentially, lots of mortal wounds, lots of ways to increase your casting, and more powers to do mortal wounds, which is good. The Cult of Knowledge. This is another great one if you're building around it. The power warp charge 6, enemy unit within 18 inches. Until the start of your next psychic phase, when attacking that unit, any friendly Cult of Knowledge unit rerolls wound rolls of 1. Fantastic.
Cool.
Really nice.
Yeah.
And that's any Cult of Knowledge. Remember that your vehicles, your demon engines, will get the cult keyword.
Yep.
So that helps your las cannons out, that helps your hellbrutes out, it helps your mauler fiends, it helps your mutilifs out in combat, all kinds of things. Their warlord trait, you can reroll any dice rolls of 1 for psychic test for this model. Nice, it's good, it's reliable. Unfortunately, their relic is not great. It's a warp flame pistol with a 12-inch range, strength 6 -2. It's okay. Yeah. There's better ones. Yeah. But the power makes it up for it. It's really, really good. The Cult of Change, this is another good one. The relic and the power are really, really good. The power is warp charge 6, an enemy unit within 12, subtract 1 from attacks and leadership to a minimum of 1. Brilliant. It's really good. The warlord trait, you can reroll charge rolls, and you can shoot and charge in a turn in which you fell back.
Okay.
So nice on a demon print.
Yes.
Hard to pin down, basically. But the relic is so good. The Capricious Crest. This is one of my favourite relics that I think G-Dubs have ever published.
Go on.
Once per turn, when a psychic test is taken for a model within 18 inches of a model with this relic, you can change the result of that psychic test as follows. If that model is from your army, change any roll of a 1 to a 6.
Nice.
If the model is from your opponent's army, change any roll of a 6 to a 1. It just you can stop yourself from perilsing.
Yeah. You can force them to perils.
You can force them to perils. You can ensure that you get a power off. You can sacrifice it for a super smite. In addition, it's when you take the psychic test and you can change any roll of a 1. So if you roll 2 1s, you can go, well, I'm going to perils anyway. I'll change them both to a 6 and get a super smite. Yeah. You may as well, or at least get the power off.
Yeah.
Exactly. So there's a lot of utility with that power. It is only once per turn, but remember that's player turn.
Yeah.
So you can go, I'll buff up myself and shut you down.
Generally, you're hoping you're not rolling too many of those things.
But it's the utility. It's a free reroll to guarantee that you get that 1 to a 6, which is just really good. Yeah. It's really, really good. And because it affects your opponent as well, it's just got so much utility. Yeah. The Cult of Duplicity. The power's really nice, and their relic is good fun. And their warlord trait's good as well. Like, this is another strong one. Sorceress Facade is their power. It's warp charge 7. You select a friendly Cult of Duplicity unit within 6 inches of the Psycho, remove it from the battlefield, set it up 9 inches away, and you treat it as having moved this turn. You get Gate of Infinity. It's a little harder to cast, but doing that on a big blob of rubrics is quite nice. Yeah. Remember, you cannot do that on a unit of Zangor.
Nope. Scott, because they don't have the cult keyword.
Don't try it.
Can't do it.
The Warlord trait's nice. Start of the first battle round before the first turn begins. Select up to D3 Cult of Duplicity units from your army. Remove those units and set them up again following the normal deployment rules for the units and the mission being played. If you redeploy transport, all units embarked inside remain so when it's set up again. Really nice. A redeploy is always strong. Yeah. A useful warlord trait to have. And because you've got the stratagem to have an extra warlord trait, all of these warlord traits are going to have some kind of a use 9 times out of 9, incidentally, because it's 9 cults. So you've always kind of got access to them in some way. It's just a pity that you didn't have automatic access to them. Yes. But never mind. And the Arcane is really nice. Phidias Tome. At the start of the battle round, roll a d6 if the bearer of this relic is on the battlefield. On a 4+, you gain a command point. On a 1, your opponent gains a command point. For Zinch is fickle. Yes. Now, you cannot re-roll that, using a command point because it's at the start of a battle round. It's not in a phase. So I don't believe you can re-roll that.
No, you can't do because it still counts as pre-game, pre-turn.
Oh, well, this is a battle round actually. So maybe you
Oh,
can.
so you're...
We'll have to refer to the Tome of FAQs for how the Phidias Tome works.
Yes.
But either way, you know what? If I've got that relic and I roll a 1, I'll be like, there you go, mate. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Have it. It's fine. So that's a nice alternative to Helm with a Third Eye.
Yeah.
But it could backfire. However, the Warlord trait and the power are really nice. Cult of Manipulation. This one is probably the weakest. Everything's very, very niche. When it works, it's really nice, but it's just not incredible. The Psychic power is Attempted Possession. It's Warp Charge 6. You select an enemy character unit within 18 inches of the Psyker. They suffer a mortal wound, and until the start of your next Psychic phase, if a Psychic test is taken for that unit, you subtract 2 from the result.
Yeah.
It's nice to do a mortal wound on a character, but because it's a character, you can't do it on like a Hemlock. You can't do it on a Grey Knight unit. You could do it on the character. And -2 is nice, but it's super niche, guys.
Yeah, you just don't. You probably won't find yourself looking at that cult more than others which have already jumped out.
Which have potentially better ones. You know, if you're running them in a soup army, you're probably going through mutation or change because they've got powers that affect your enemy units more broadly rather than buffing stuff to your cult. So the Cult of Time to heal an infantry and it's not useful if you're souping. Great in a pure army. That one has its uses, but it's so niche. You've got better ways of dealing with characters with things like Doombolt and Infernal Gaze. If you come up against a Psychic army, great. But it's very, very niche, as I say. The Warlord trait is nice, however. Subtract 1 from attacks characteristics of models in enemy units whilst their unit is within an inch of this Warlord. So great for a Demon Prince. Helpful as a defensive ability for your other characters, but again, would you take it? Really? Maybe not.
I'm already looking at other cults at this point, so you're kind of like, well,
And the last thing for them, the last relic, this has the potential to be so good, but it's very, very small potential. So when a model with this relic is chosen to fight within the fight phase, you can select one enemy infantry model with a leadership characteristic of 9 or less within 1 inch of this model. Select one melee weapon that enemy model is equipped with, and until the end of the phase, the model with this relic is treated as only being equipped with that weapon instead, and it can only make attacks against that enemy model's unit. In addition, you cannot reroll the hit or wound rolls with this weapon, because essentially the fluff of it is not that you're copying the weapon, you're kind of mind controlling the enemy to attack themselves and their friends. It's really cool, it's really fluffy, potential is great. But really, guys, most characters are leadership are going to be leadership 10.
Well, I don't know though. Actually,
no, it's 9 or less. I thought
but you've got to be within that inch.
You've got to be in combat. They're going to be attacking themselves. You already equipped with 4
at range. Like something cool at range.
Yeah, you've already got a 4-staff or Malefic Talons. Your stuff's probably better. Already, I mean,
it's not. It's as you say, it's quite niche.
Unless you're coming up against, a Smash Captain, for example. Maybe, but that's assuming that you've survived.
Yeah, the initial onslaught. Yeah, that's right.
So that is unfortunately the weakest one. They could have done a lot more with the Cult of Manipulation. Make that about like stealing. The Psychic power could have been like cast it on an enemy character. Your opponent loses a CP and you gain a CP. Oh yes,
yes,
that would have been amazing
awesome.
because you're stealing their secrets. You're
draining their utility.
Or because it fits with the Cult of Manipulation. You're just going like I already and they're like we don't have enough resources from high command, and then the Z sorcerer's there just going just as planned.
Yeah.
You could have done some really cool utility stuff like that. As it is the weakest. There's definitely some really good ones. If you're suiting with Thousand Suns, it's just more stuff for you to do.
Yeah, exactly.
It's great.
Cult of Magic if you want to do higher damage outputs.
Yeah.
As you said, you've got plenty of utility ones in there as well for a generic soup army. So look, It's better
nice.
having it than not.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
I agree with you. I think I would love to have seen a proper super doctrine.
Super doctrine, like some sort of, harnessing their powers together, or, some sort of ability, like not necessarily a combat doctrine, but I mean, that's what everything will be compared to nowadays.
Well, it will, because that's been the new standard that's been set.
It is, yeah, and it's exactly what we said when the Space Marine book came out. It rewarded monofaction, which is what we always wanted to see, and they've continued to do that for Marines only.
Yes.
If you're a Tyranid player, if you are a Chaos player, you have not received it, and it's even the Eldar, they didn't receive anything.
No, they didn't. But what I'm hoping, therefore, is because and I said it when I first saw the book of Space Marines, I was like, this book feels really different to anything that's been written so far. So, and we haven't really had an update book for anything else.
Well, we've not had any new codexes.
Exactly. Not really, because let's face it, the Chaos version 2 does not even really constitute much of an update.
We don't talk about it. The only version 2 version of a Chaos codex that's come out was 3.5. Long may it be remembered in our hearts.
Yes, it was an amazing tome. But look, that concludes the review. It was a very, very needed update. Very much for the Dark Angels and Grey Knights. If you're a T-Sons player, have you gotten lots of amazing new toys? I'd say not to the degree that the Dark Angels and the Grey Knights have. I think the Grey Knights are the biggest winner out of the book.
I would say so.
Because they were in the worst position out of those three factions as well, I would say. I think that's fair to say. Dark Angels now have got some amazing new tricks.
Yeah.
And Thousand Sons, you've got some garnishes. You've got some garnishes. It's a little something extra,
it's a little
which is good.
It's just a pity.
It's not. This is not a saviour for Chaos fans in general.
Once again,
yes. But having said that, if you're playing competitively, you're already souping with Chaos more than likely anyway, and you already do have some powerful things like the Possessed Bomb and so forth. So Triple Chaos Knight with thermal cannons are actually still really.
And now with that Cold Prophecy guy just hanging around behind him, giving reroll hit, wound, or damage.
Until that's FAQ, which I expect it will be. So don't build a list around that yet, because it's the only one out of the cults which doesn't specify a cult keyword. So don't hatch your eggs before they.
Just as with all new releases.
Just wait for the FAQ just in case. And look, if they don't FAQ it, knock yourself out.
Yeah, them Nightless will be loving the Thousand Sons even more.
They will. So look, thanks very much to GW yet again for giving us the opportunity to review this book. Hopefully you guys found that interesting and useful. Maybe it's given you some ideas about how you might add to your own existing armies. Who knows? Until next time, this has been the Spider and the Chef, and we'll see you very soon.